know I've been around and doing it, but now it's my time to shine and start proving it. I'm losing it, I'm moving it. The city is where I'm made, Bostonian flow, I kick it back there. Yeah, I got game, God in a fan way. We the city of the champs, every sport we play. Spit wetter than the harbor, yeah, I'm flowing like the Charles. I be speeding on this beat, call it Turnpike Miles. Yeah, it's Buku signing on, John to the Hancock, and I'm always key, I'm ready to unlock. I be doing big things, don't even have a deal, yeah, I battle through these.
Welcome back, everyone, to the newest edition of Once a Week. I'm Billy J. Ludis, and as I've been telling you guys for the last couple of weeks, we've been getting some more and more incredible guests on the show, and today is going to be no different. We have a very special guest today coming to us from Alabama. He is a leadership speaker who has spent years studying and diving into different business methods and principles, and he has a passion for teaching and bringing out the best in everyone that he comes across. And I've been able to learn this firsthand, and he's helped me just in my own way in our meetings we've had. And on top of all that, he's studied leadership in so many different ways to become a great leader, but provide the tools for others who want to be leaders as well. And that is what we want to step in with you guys today. But guys, I give you Chris Kraft. Here we go.
Billy, it's good to be on your show, man. I've watched a lot of your other interviews, and I really am impressed with the way that you and your guests both bring out value for other people. So I really appreciate you having me on today, man.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you being here. And, you hit the nail on the head. Bring value to people is the goal at the end of the day. We want to improve people. Just as your passions are for teaching, where you want to bring out the best in people, that's what our message is going to be today. And guys, I thank you for tuning in. And Chris and I have been going back and forth on what would be a great message to bring to you. And Chris has so many different tools that he brings in his toolbox that it kind of hit us. Why not present the toolbox? And Chris, you explained to me in our past meeting before we started filming what this toolbox idea is. And it dives into RLA, dives into the backpack idea. But let's step into that a little bit and give this to these people that may have never heard that before. So,
That sounds great, man. I definitely appreciate that. So before I dive into that, I want to give you something. I was just on a seminar last night with one of the top 20 leadership experts in the world, Mr. Orrin Woodward, and he threw out a great metaphor that I want to start off with. There was a 1970s study that was done, and they compared the human being and how much energy he gives off going a mile, and compared that to every animal in their known existence, right? So they compared it against birds and against mammals. And they basically said the number one was the condor that expelled the least amount of energy in a mile because of the wingspan. The condor didn't have to give out as much energy to go a mile. The human being walking a mile actually was in the bottom third of every animal or being in existence. We actually expelled a lot of energy going a mile. He said, but they changed something. They put the human being on a bicycle, and now the human being went from the bottom third to number one.
Okay.
In giving up the least amount of energy to go a mile. Here's what Orrin was teaching with this, and this is how I want to lead into the backpack today. Human beings are made for tools. They're made for systems. The way we were created in the first place is we were created. The one difference between us and animals is our ability to create those systems, those tools to make life better, to make life easier. So when we say tools, really what we're saying is what in your life do you have to make life better, to make life easier? So when we talk about tools, a lot of times I want to make sure that we're on the same page. We're not talking about tools and screwdrivers, but in a sense we are. Right? Because when a job needs done in your life, what do you have to pull from? So when Billy and I were talking about this for our audience today, I told him there was a metaphor that was used a long time ago that I love. It was the idea of a toolbox. In your life, the deepest pains that most of us have will come from one or two areas. It's going to come from relationships or finances, right? And I would even say to this day, most pain will come from relationships. Most stress will come from finances, right? So the tools that most people, one of the first things I do when I sit down and talk with someone is I think, what tool do I have in my, not just for me, but what tool do I have available along with me that I can help to help someone take care of an issue in their life? And here's what I figured out through all the people that I've spoken with over the years. Many people have a very empty toolbox. They don't have any tools that they've put in, right? And what do those tools look like? Well, and how do we put tools into that? And we'll talk about the backpack here in a moment. But the tools that we have to deal with relationship issues, with financial issues, that how do we put those tools into our toolbox? There's the three best ways that anybody, and feel free to write these down, because if there was one message that I would have to somebody, it's that you need more tools in your toolbox. But you can tie into Billy's YouTube videos once a week. That's great. But guess what? You've got 168 hours in your week. He's not available for you to call and fix all your problems, right? You have to have the tools to be able to fix your problems and to be able to make your life better. Billy can be a tool. You can use this YouTube video as a tool. For my wife and I, we utilize a system of personal development through the company that I'm with. We dive into some of that. That's one of my tools. So how do you get these tools? 3 ways. RLA: read, listen, associate with. Here's what I know. You are who you are today because of the people you've associated with and the books you've read over the last 10 years. And for a lot of us, we go, ooh, ouch, right? Because the average American today reads less than a book a year.
Yeah.
The average CEO reads 6 books a month.
Yeah, so true. Yeah.
So and I've heard it said this way. I've heard people say I'm not much of a reader, and if I know the person, my first response is, "You don't have to tell me. I don't want to be rude, but I'll just use myself as an example. Books are about new knowledge. I was just telling Billy before this starts, I'm reading a book right now on conflict resolution. Right, fantastic book. So I have 2 different options. I could go through 100 conflicts and learn my own lessons the hard way, or I could learn from another guy who's put a whole lifetime into teaching this, and in less than 2 weeks I can read this little book and learn the concepts. That puts tools into my toolbox. That's reading. Listening is about what you're doing now, right? You're listening to a podcast, you're listening to an audio. My wife and I listen to 3 to 4 podcast teachings a day. Actually, Billy and I are subscribed to some of the same personal development information. It's a program that we have called Rascal Radio, to where we can listen to positive inputs all the time. And I don't know about all of our listeners, and Billy, I apologize if I'm taking over the conversation. This is one of my passions, man.
Yeah.
Most of us don't have positive inputs on a normal basis. We have so many negative inputs. You know this. We have so many negative inputs. So my question is, what are you battling that with? In the Bible, the idea talks about whatsoever things are good and pleasing and pure. Most of us get whatever things are complaining and whiny, and that's usually the side that we get. So how do you do it? Reading is about learning new information to apply. A lot of times listening, even these days just through our cell phones, is about keeping inspired and motivated to keep going. And the last part is association. The people you associate with will make the biggest influence in your life. So find the right crowd who's going in the direction that you want to go, and do whatever it takes to connect with them. 2 weeks ago, I went to a major leadership conference in Shipshewana, Indiana. I'm from Alabama. That was a bit of a drive. But guess what? That's where the association was that I wanted to be a part of. And come hell or high water, I will be around the association, my mentors, my coaches, which is a whole nother subject. Your mentors and coaches, you do whatever it takes to be around them. It is not your mentor's job to keep up with you. It is your job to keep up with your mentor and to chase after them in the long term. So that's the idea of the full toolbox, man. It's RLA, putting tools in there so that when something hits you in your life, you have something to pull from.
Exactly. And so much about what you just said, I want everyone to be able to absorb. So, and it's kind of cool because even with the RLA, in a way, for people to look at this on an easier basis, it's like a step-by-step process.
It is.
Start on your own, you read. And like you said, you mentioned, like some people don't like to read. Just start. Like we threw out an idea before we started filming, guys, and it was the idea of the library. You can go to a library with a free library card and pick out anything that you want to learn about. Let your imagination run wild to what that could bring into your life, because that's what reading can do. So if that's step 1, and then like you said, listening, the L, getting around people, whether it's finding your environment, finding the people, finding the mentors, finding the coaches that can be around you, or listening to the people that are your elders, like whether it's your parents or whatever it is, they have wisdom to give to you that you can take if you can absorb it, listen to it, and go to that next level. And that could be for anything. As Chris brought up, relationships and finances are the two toughest things to get through in life, but they teach you the most through that pain and through that stress, because you have to get your head on your shoulders.
True.
Really listening from those around you who have overcome that already or have been through it, or how you can navigate the potholes so you can get by them in life. And the association process, Chris brought up, he just went to this conference and he was around the people. You become the people that you're around. So if you're associating that with everything you're reading and listening to, and you're taking the initiative to go out there and surround yourself with these people and just try to get your foot in the door, not for a job, not for anything like that, get your foot in the door on personal development and bettering yourself. Oh my goodness, what that does for you in such a short amount of time, because you truly absorb it. And like, Chris brought up again, whether it's a once a week video, a podcast, like you said, he listens to 4 a day. Him and his wife listen to 4 a day. That's absorbing it. That's integrating it. That's really pouring it into your body, your mind, and your soul, for that matter, so you can take it to the next level. And he pulled up his phone right here because it's at your disposal. And like you said, we're connected through a Rascal Radio, which has all these incredible things. And Chris can dive more into that towards the end of the video. But it's at your disposal. It's at your fingertips through every tool that we have. And now you got to add it into you. You got to add it into your mind. You got to add it into your soul. You got to add it into your heart right there, where it truly is your toolbox. And, there's we can dive into the backpack one in a second, but I love everything about this toolbox idea, because it's what leaders truly do. Mm-hmm. And there's such a huge portion, I'm not going to say United States, of the entire world, that is not unwilling to take that step, but unknowing that they even have that step to take.
Exactly.
Right? And so if they can step in and listen to this stuff, the scales from their eyes fall off. They're able to open up for a second and be like, maybe I should listen to this more. Maybe I should read that book that's just sitting on the shelf because I bought it 3 years ago and didn't want to read it. Let's put the video game off. Let's turn the TV off and just see what 10 pages a night can do.
Right.
That's all it takes. Set a goal. I always tell all my life coaching clients, like, I wish I could read more. I'm like, all right, do you give yourself the opportunity? Like, oh, no, I get caught away. I was like, all right, before you go to bed, set the timer on your phone, your alarm clock, 10 minutes. 10 minutes of reading. I don't care where you stop. I don't care if you're in the middle of a page. I don't care.
Page.
10 minutes. Someone can take 10 minutes out of their day and read. And that goes so far. And that's just starting the process.
And I love the way you said that, man, because let's just be, I'm assuming that people tie into your podcast and your YouTube, not to be coddled and told that everything's okay. I'm assuming that somebody coming into this wants to make true changes in life, right? So if you want to make true changes in life, then allow me, hopefully for your viewers, let's be a little straightforward for a minute, right? I don't listen, in my mentoring and coaching, I don't let anyone tell me the phrase, I don't have time, because that's a lie. I don't care if it's Steve Jobs, who's passed away, Bill Gates, I don't care if it's Billy G, Chris Kraft, or the bum down the street. Everyone has 24 hours in their day. If someone's going to tell me they don't have time to read, I ask them, here's what I'd like you to do. Reorganize that sentence, because what you really mean is reading is not a true enough priority for me. When someone tells me they don't have 10 minutes to read, then your life is too busy. And here's the deal. If your life is that, let's just be straight. Let's lay all cards on the table, man. Yeah. If somebody is that busy and do not have the results that they want in life, then you need a full slate, clean priority, man. Yeah. You need to look at everything in your life and go, how am I spending my time? Because let's just take a snapshot of America. Snapshot. 60% increase in suicide since COVID hit.
Yeah, it's true.
Stress, anxiety, depression, all skyrocketing. Yeah. When people have more free time than they've ever had, what's currently happening is somebody is facing a mental struggle, and I don't even blame them necessarily. We should all take personal responsibility for our own growth in our own life. But what's happened is we're facing these massive struggles in life. We open our toolbox to figure out, what do I have in my mental, in my emotional, in my spiritual toolbox to deal with this depression? And it's got spider webs. Yeah. There's no tools. So what's happening is people are crashing and burning because this true emergency situation is happening in their life, and they don't have the tools to deal with it.
Yeah, you're 100% right.
So what I'm really telling people is, are you satisfied with how you've handled the last 6 months? If not, what changes are you going to make in your life to where when the next crisis hits, you'll have tools?
Exactly.
You'll have tools. When I get in a fight with my wife, I have so many books and audios that are coming into my head so I can decrease the stress of the current situation because I have the appropriate tool for what's needed. I hope that's making sense. So if where you're at, you tell me you don't like the results, but you also tell me you don't have time to do what it takes to get the tools, I'm just going to be straight. I can't help you.
Yeah.
You're going to have to look at your life and make 10 minutes to read. Again, find a tool to listen to audios while you're doing things. My car is a university on wheels. When I'm in my car, I'm listening to audios. I was doing dishes yesterday for my wife. I've got an audio plan. I was making breakfast this morning for myself and my wife. I've got an audio plan. Why? Let's be straight. To shut me up. To shut me up. I don't know how you are, and I don't know how our listeners are, but if left to myself, I am a negative thinking person because I'm around so many negative thinking people that it gets like a virus, no pun intended. It's like I'm dirty.
No, it's true.
I need a bath.
Yeah.
And listening is brainwashing, right? It's brain cleansing. So make the time. If there's results you don't like, make the time.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to take even your thought that you just brought up and take it even further, because it connects to a message that I put out there a couple weeks back called The Battle Within. And if viewers haven't watched it yet, I'll put it at the end of this video, but it dives into exactly what Chris just said, where if your thoughts, everyone in the world gets stuck in a cycle of mentation, where mentation is the constant cycle of negative thoughts running through our mind on a daily basis. And you can look up the statistics for how many thoughts we have in a day. It's a substantial amount. How many of those are thoughts that you've already had? How many of those are negative thoughts? How many of those are good thoughts about yourself? And like Chris just said, when he's listening to a podcast, when he's doing the dishes, when he's making breakfast for him and his wife, he has a podcast going so his own brain, his own mind isn't sending out his own thoughts. And there's a reason why when you dive truly deep into the lifestyles of people, we go to church, we go to leadership conferences, we go around people that build us up, is because we need to hear all those incredible good messages about us as a person, but also us growing into who we're meant to be. Yep. And those break the mental cycles, as Chris does when he listens to these podcasts, as I do when I listen to a podcast, a video, whatever I have going, reading. Those fill your mind with such goodness. And that's what we were always meant to do from the day the world was made, for that matter. When it was breathed into existence, we were supposed to sit there and build ourselves up using the tools that are around us. But if you're going to sit there and, Chris mentioned it, for like the past, COVID's been going on for at this point about 8 months or so. The suicide rate has increased dramatically because so many people have so much free time. They're stuck mentating those negative thoughts and they can't break it. And yet there's a good chance the tools that they needed were at their fingertips. They just didn't see them. Let this video, as we said, open your eyes and open your ears to everything else that is around you, because that's what these are meant to. These are meant to be your tools. And if you're watching this video, that's your first step in using a tool. And Chris was just able to give us about 50 million other tools just in what he just said. And that was one person's comment right there. Right. However, how many other people do you look up to on a daily basis? How many people on your list of, if you had a round table and you filled it with everyone that you would love to hear from, whether it's a celebrity, whether it's an athlete, whether it's God for that matter, whatever it may be, you want to hear from them. There is something in a book or something in a podcast or something in a movie, a video, whatever it is, that will give you that message, and that sits in you and helps you grow further.
That's true. Would you mind if I speak to that real quick? Sure. There's a really important concept here called fruit check. Right? Because there's a lot of people in the world today who are giving you their opinion. If you were to ask 100 people what books you think they should read or that they think you should read, you're going to get 100 different answers. There's a really important concept called a fruit check. You need to check the fruit of someone's life. It's really a concept from the Bible that it talks about. You judge a tree, whether it's good or bad, by the fruit that it bears, right? And this is what I tell people. If you're going to ask somebody for marriage advice, and again, I understand there's interesting people out there. I'm not criticizing divorce, but let's be straight. If you want a good marriage, am I going to ask someone who's been through 6 divorces or someone who's been married 40 years? Fruit check. You should be some of the girls that my wife and I mentor, we have them thinking that every time somebody gives them advice, fruit check. Do I want their life? Well, they live in constant stress, constant fear, constant worry, and they scream and cuss all the time. I don't know that I want that fruit, so I don't know. I'm going to respect them. I'm not going to beat them up and beat them down mentally, but I'm just not necessarily going to take their advice and apply it into my life. You know, I hope that makes sense. So along with what Billy's saying, make sure that you do take on the wisdom from the ages from other people, but also make sure, because I've gone through a financial fitness program where my wife and I have eliminated $120,000 of our debt. And principle number 4 of that program is quit taking advice from broke people. It drives me crazy how many people want to do better in their finances, but the only knowledge they have is from broke people. And then they tell me how I'm wrong. I'm like, that's fine. Let's just compare fruit for a minute. All right. So when it comes to any area of your life, man. So I just wanted to throw that in what you're saying, because yes, there are so many people. Just make sure you do a fruit check before you apply that advice in your life.
Exactly. And to build on that, before I bring in the next little topic, is with a fruit check, the information that you're taking in is going to help you grow more fruit. And, you know, as Chris said, that dates back to the Bible, and that's and it does, and it's so true. But how you're growing your fruit, meaning what you're learning, who you're around, how you're living your life on a healthy level, that could be physical, that could be spiritual, that could be relational, whatever it means for you, how you're living your life is growing fruit in your life. And that could be knowledge, that could be wisdom, that could be just friendships, companionship, whatever it is, but you're growing fruit. And pruning will come and whatnot here and there, but you need to continue to grow that fruit in greatness, as Chris just described. It's powerful. So guys, take that and run with it. But Chris, we mentioned the toolbox, but when we were talking about this, you also mentioned a backpack. Can you explain the backpack idea to us as well? Because I think that segues perfectly to what we just went into.
I would love to. And just to tell you, I know we try to keep some of the videos to a certain length of time. This won't take as much time because there's not as much to it, even though you could chew on it yourself for a while. This is what I want you to think. We've already talked about how most people face circumstances in their lives with empty backpacks. Or I'm sorry, empty toolbox. But here's the issue. Would you also agree that if we take a snapshot of America right now, many people, and you almost watch people's posture as they're walking around, they look way down. They look down. They look depressed. People are walking around with their head down. The mask that we're wearing can even keep us from smiling to each other. Let me encourage you, even if you're wearing a mask, smile. I can see it in your eyes, right? And you can see it in your countenance. But so what I was talking with Billy a minute ago is a lot of people are walking through life with a full backpack, which is a backpack full of rocks and stones. What are those rocks and stones? What's the metaphor? It's bitterness, it's resentment, it's stress and anxiety, it's worry, it's fear, all of this it's layers of falsehoods that you've been taught your whole life. It's self-identity issues that you don't think you're good enough. It's self-image issues that you don't know that you're a precious creation of God. It's all these kind of things that we walk through life weighed down with this backpack. So here's what I'm going to tell you. Most people walk through life with a full backpack and an empty toolbox. Think about how depressing that life is, man. You're weighed down all the time. You're weighed down with consequences and experiences from your past. You really don't know how good you are and how great the potential inside of you is. Maybe you've been told your whole life that you have great potential, but it hasn't done anything. You've got this full backpack. And then when something hits you in life, you open your toolbox and you haven't put any tools in. What I just stated is the mindset of the average American today. And that's also why suicide is up 60% and depression is up, because we're walking around with a full backpack of all the negative things that have happened and the negative emotions and feelings that we have. The best thing that Billy and I can encourage you to do is to walk through life, please listen to this, with a full toolbox and an empty backpack. And a lot of people would say, how do I empty my backpack? I have all this history. You're going to get, if I'm ever on this YouTube series, you're going to get tired of me saying this. It's read, listen, associate.
Yeah.
How do I learn the tools? How do I learn the principles? You got to read them.
Yeah.
Chris Brady has a statement. He says, you don't know what you don't know. Some of what you know, you forgot. And some of what you know just ain't so, right? Like the things that we need to know in life, we're not aware of yet. We don't know. You got to go read them. Yeah. You got to go listen to them. You got to go associate with people. If I want to have $1 million, guess what? I need to go hang around with people who have $1 million.
Yeah.
Right? If I want to have a good marriage, I need to go associate. And the other thing I'm going to speak to real quick is a win-win association like you and I are creating now, right? We've only known each other a few weeks. And what Billy and I have already figured out is we have a win-win association. And what that means is I don't win and Billy loses. Billy doesn't win and I lose, right? I was able to connect Billy with a tool that I have, that Rascal Radio tool. That's a win-win. Now he and I we can have consistent communication about certain talks that we're both listening to. It's good for my association to have him included in there. Now he's in my network and he has access to everybody in my network. Yeah. The people that are my mentors, he can now communicate with. Like hopefully my mentor, Mark Militello, can be on here one day, right? So it's a win-win association. So let me challenge you with this. During your RLA process, that association piece, you're not looking for people to either take advantage of, or you shouldn't be afraid that they're going to take advantage of you. You should be creating win-win scenarios where you walk into their life, they can bless your life, you can bless theirs.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you may say, well, I don't know that I can bless people from where I'm at. Then what you truly need is a mentor. Yeah. You need someone who can give you a hand up, not a handout, a hand up. They can provide you the tools. Are you cool if I throw out a couple books real quick, like book ideas?
By all means, go for it. Yeah.
Okay, so just a couple books, and I don't know your situation, so I'm going to throw out general books instead of, because all of our viewers, I don't want to give a specific recommendation necessarily, because I don't know that's why you need a coach. You need someone who can say, go get this book. I always encourage the book Personality Plus by Florence Littauer. There's a lot of personality tests out there. Many of them were based on this book. It uses strange terms like sanguine, choleric, melancholy, and phlegmatic. But the purpose of that book is two ways. It's number one, so you can understand your own personality tendencies. And number two, so you can understand the tendencies of others. So instead of being frustrated with them, you give grace to them. It was a huge, huge benefit for me. If you're a strong personality, I would really encourage the book Leadership and Self-Deception by the Arbinger Institute. It is a metaphorical book where it's a story, but the principles brought out in the story are absolutely fantastic. I've got some of my books right up here. I would really encourage, if you're really big into personal growth and you're like, I don't know one particular area I want to grow in, I just know that I want to be better. One of the best books I can recommend is the book called Resolved by Orrin Woodward. He's one of my he's my mentor's mentor, one of the top 20 leadership experts in the world. And that book is 13 resolutions on how to change your life. Its character talks about the scoreboard and how to help your life go forward with the use of a scoreboard. Plan, do, check, adjust process. Tons of fantastic stuff for personal growth. For those of you who are looking into the spiritual, I would really just encourage you to dig into the Bible as much as you can. And the other one I wanted to throw out, wherever it was, if you're having relationship issues, I would highly encourage the book, The DNA of Relationships by Dr. Gary Smalley. He dives into how to take personal responsibility for your relationships. He dives into core fears and what happens when our core fears are hit. Very, very helpful book for my wife and I. So books like that, you dive into, and then you take personal responsibility to change. You fill your toolbox. And what books like that do, from my personal experience, I read DNA of Relationships, and I started taking the rocks out of my backpack. Well, my wife hurt me with this. No, what she actually did is she accidentally hit a core fear of mine, and I handled it incorrectly. That means I don't have to hold on to this rock anymore. What about this one from my brother? You see what I'm doing?
Yeah.
I'm using the tools from the full toolbox to empty my backpack. And what I'll tell you is this. When you're living life with a full toolbox and an empty backpack, you are having a happier, more satisfied, more fulfilled, more peaceful life.
Yep.
And you're going to be different than most of the people around you. So, Billy, I appreciate you letting me come on today and speak, man.
Oh, that was some great, that was powerful message right there. And then the books were incredible too. I want to, before we close out this message, I want to go back to two things that you said that I think are going to help people even more after hearing this, because it came to me when you were talking about how having the full backpack and not having having an empty toolbox and not having those tools to pick from, and you're going through life stressed out, you're dealing with all the emotions. Oh, why did this happen to me? It's truly a victim mentality.
It is.
And when we're having a victim mentality, that question always pops up. Oh, why me? Why does this keep happening? And one of the tools that Chris has been able to gain through every single book that he's grasped, and through me, all the books that I've read or everything that I've stepped into, the biggest tool is the questions that you ask yourself. And the books help you redefine those questions. The podcasts help you redefine those questions because you're asking more about yourself and what more you can bring to the table. So this idea of the full backpack, and you're stuck and it's filled with these questions of, I can't believe that. Why am I going through this pain? Every single thing that you've been through in your life is trying to build you up into something new, trying to build you up, no matter how bad it was, no matter how painful. Chris mentioned earlier, relationship and finances are the two biggest painful or stressors in life. And it's true. Those happen so you can clear yourself up and understand more about who you are and get to the next level you're supposed to get to. So that being said, the questions you ask yourself, are you asking why me, or are you asking what quality in me is opening up, coming out through this pain? And I always relate this back to a labor mentality, because when a woman goes into labor, she goes through a severe amount of pain. However, something incredible comes out in the end. So if you're someone who's struggling through life and you're going, why me? And I hope to God you are not a person who has asked that suicide question, as so many people in the United States have. But if you are, ask a different question. Ask yourself, what goodness is coming out of me? And then that's going to lead you to a book. That's going to lead you to a podcast. Take everything Chris said in this message and take it and run with it. Meaning, if those negative questions are there, fill yourself with new information to ask new questions. Ask yourself these positive aspects to get you to the next level, because there's a part of you that wants to grow into it. You don't have to exit the world, the game of life for that matter, through taking your life. All right, we're going to go deeper with this because this is such a huge topic for the world. You don't have to exit. You can ask yourself a different question and say, what is coming out of me during this time? What quality is growing? And then the books build those qualities, right? And then next piece before we close this one, Chris mentioned the idea of giving, in a win-win situation. We mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. I can put that video at the end of this one as well. When you give to someone else, no matter what you're giving, your time, money, if you're investing in someone or something for them to go, or you're just giving them a positive comment, it will always come back to you.
Yes.
You give to someone, giving comes back to you. You receive. That's how life works. That's how spirituality works, for that matter. That's how God has designed the world, because he gave us so much abundance. It's there for us. But when you can give the goodness of yourself, goodness comes back to you.
Yeah, the principle of sowing and reaping.
Yes, exactly.
What you sow,
yep.
You sow an apple tree, and apple tree comes up. Mm-hmm. That's part of what it is.
Exactly, 100%. And guys, like Chris labeled out so many incredible books that you can step into just to start. That's all we're asking you to do with this message today. Just start to step into something new for yourself. RLA. We went into every aspect: reading, listening, and association. Start 10 minutes a day. I always put that out to everyone. If you find something, dive into it for even longer. If you can read and just let your mind wander with the book. A movie is 2 hours long. I've gone to books sometimes where I'm sitting there, I was like, oh my goodness, I've been reading for almost 2 hours right now. And just to think what absorbed into my head during that time is fascinating. You can't even fathom it because your mind just absorbed every word. Mm-hmm. But guys, that's what we want for you today. Chris, we went over so much, but I always ask every guest that is on, of everything we said or anything else that is still running around your head for this message, or you're running around your mind, what is one last comment, message, powerful aspect, inspiration that you want to leave with everyone here? You can send them to the information you and I have talked about through the Life app, send them to Rascal Radio, send them to whatever it is. But what last piece do you want to leave with everyone before we close out the video?
I appreciate that. And the one thing I'm going to say is exactly what you said a second ago. The most powerful thing that you will ever do in your life is to start. Is to start. Because we can have all these grandiose ideas. Yes, we covered read, we covered listen, we covered associate. There's even tools that are inside of that. right? I'll talk about the life app here in a minute. It's a tool that I use. Guess what? Church is a tool that I use. The Bible's a tool that I use. Mentors and coaches there's so many tools, but you know what? They're all worthless unless you pick them up.
Yes. 100%.
Every tool is worthless unless you pick it up, unless you begin. I love what Billy said with 10 minutes. Listen to an audio. Listen to another. You know what? And in YouTube, one of the things I hate the most is that you have all these extra things that come up on the side. But you know what? If you like this YouTube video, listen to the next one of Billy's.
Yeah.
Listen to a couple more of those. If he's someone that you trust and has earned your respect, listen to a few more of those. If you're in a bad spot, listen to a lot more of those.
Yeah.
Start.
Yeah.
Do something. I don't care how much you read. I have people that tell me, well, I can't comprehend much when I read. Don't care. That's not the point. You're building an internal discipline inside of you that you're modifying your priorities. You're telling everything inside of you and everyone outside of you, this will be a priority in my life.
Exactly.
The reason I didn't book something else at this time is because Billy was my priority.
Yeah.
So if you have time in your schedule to read, nothing else gets in the way. Start. That's the most powerful thing I can tell you. So are you good if I tell people to my email and just tell them they can contact me and all that? Okay.
Close it out right after. I'm with it.
Sounds good. So the company that I'm with, that I'm helping represent, is called Life Leadership. The company's entire goal is to help people personally. I have a little patch here. It's one of my favorites. We help people in their personal development, their leadership development, their financial education. What I tell people is we're basically a toolbox. No pun, well, pun definitely intended. We're a toolbox to help give people tools and services in their life to help take stress out and to give them more options. One of the things Billy takes advantage of is Rascal Radio. It has tools on there to help you save money on things that you're already buying. My wife and I went out to dinner the other night. We got $4 cash back just from eating out at a meal we were already going to eat out. And it gives you little tools. It gives you travel tools, all kinds of that. I'm not going to go into too much information here, but if you would like to get in contact with me, I am wide open to it. My wife and I also do mentoring and coaching. I'm going to really encourage you to get in contact with Billy, because if you've gotten in contact with this channel, odds are you know him or you know someone that he respects. Get in contact with him. Look into his life coaching and everything else. If you'd like to get in contact with me, because we're in contact with each other, right? You can feel free to email me. My email is cclifeleadership@gmail.com. That's CC, like Chris Kraft. cclifeleadership@gmail.com. Let me know that you heard us on here, and I'd love to have a conversation. I can tell you more about the Life app. I can give you some book recommendations or some audio recommendations. And the most important thing I can tell you is be consistent.
Yeah.
Start, then be consistent. So, Billy, really appreciate you letting me come on today and share, my friend. This is not going to be the last time, I've got a feeling.
Oh, yeah. We got plenty more messages coming at you. But I really appreciate you being here, Chris. And the message that you brought up to us is just so powerful. And guys, as Chris mentioned numerous times, and I mentioned numerous times, take it and run with it. Don't even run with it. Take it and take a step with it. Take it and take that first baby step with it. Just try it for just a day and start that cycle. Start integrating that information. You start integrating a better you out of all these toolbox and tool ideas that we just brought up to you.
Exactly.
But that's all it takes. That's all it takes is just taking a small step of action. So take a small step of action. But Chris, again, I thank you for being here. Really appreciate the message. So much power came into it. Guys, I'm going to put Chris's email at the end of this video. You're going to see in a second. So you can write it down, jot it down. And if you want to reach out to him, do it right there. I've talked to him numerous times. He's brought up so much influence and powerful just talks and messages and so much guidance at the same time. He's an incredible leader, and he wants to help other people be incredible leaders. And if that's you, he's the guy to get in touch with. But guys, like always, like this message, hit that thumbs up below. Share it to someone who you feel can take this message and run with it. If you were listening to us in any part of this, where we were talking about the mentation idea, where we were talking about the RLA idea, where we were talking about the toolbox, the backpack, whatever it is, if someone popped into your head at any time, that is a message to you that that person could benefit from this.
That's good.
Give. Just as Chris said, sow and reaping. Give to someone else and watch it come back to you. See how you can impact someone else's life by just hitting share. And that's all it takes. And lastly, guys, hit that subscribe button. We want to get that number up. We want to spread these videos to more people so we can help more people. At the end of the day, that's why we're here. And if you or anyone you know is in need of a life coach to help you with anything you're struggling with, or you just want to set up a 30-minute free call with me, go to billygLifecoaching.com and I'll be right there for you. But Chris, again, I thank you for being here. Can't wait for the next one.
No doubt, man.
But
same here.
Have a good one, guys. See ya.
I've been around and doing it, but now it's my time to shine and start proving